Okay, so I just managed to get my Raspberry Pi playing its first MP3. It took a bit of an effort, but I started yesterday. So I'm not completely new to Linux as well, so this is what I did very, very briefly. I went to the Raspberry Pi website, and you've got these normal pages of getting started and stuff, quick start guide. Here you'll find a link to the download section, where I'd seen that they'd brought out a new version of their operating system supposed to be running faster, and that's called Raspbian. So you download the torrent, 3-bit torrent, and then you go to, I think they had some useful pages for instructions for installing it, on that link on that page. And basically, with using Windows, I had to download a program called Win32 Disk Imager. I didn't trust the link; they had to do a separate search in Google for it. But once I had downloaded this bit of software, where is it? Yeah, Win32 Disk Imager. The instructions on this website was very useful. So you can find the link to this website again from the download section. There's a link, a wiki guide here for a guide for beginners. So that'll take you to, as I say, to that wiki page there with the instructions on how to use it. But very easy. Basically, you downloaded the download already, which is basically an image file, and you use that program to copy the image file in the right way to the SD card in your Windows computer. Then you take that out, and then you pop that into your Raspberry Pi onto its SD card, which is just poked in at the bottom here. And I think there's some instructions on there on how to get up and running, but when you pop that in, you plug in the power socket on the right here. I plugged in my HDMI cable, a couple of USBs for the keyboard and mouse, and I've got an audio one, but I didn't use that first of all, and there's an Ethernet cable there to the internet. I put it onto that monitor there. It started up with a long list of stuff that it was doing, and eventually, I think the first time you run it, you get kind of a config screen. And if you search around on this wiki, I think you should find it here. Basic setup. There is. I found it by chance, but there was instructions on what the configs were. Let me just see if I can find it. Yeah, here. So if you go to the wiki here, and there is kind of a beginner's guide, and on the right hand side you see the list of things, the contents, and you should find, yeah, because we're using this Wheezy, I think they're called Wheezy, and then it's kind of Raspbian version variety of this Debian Wheezy distribution, I think that's what they call it. Now I'll click on there, and here's kind of instructions on what you can put in the config screen. But once you've finished the config screen, in fact, so in there you kind of set like whether you're using UK keyboard or whatever. And once you've done that, you can then kind of save your settings, a bit like BIOS, I suppose, and then you get to kind of a black screen, and then if you click on kind of start. In fact, I'll just show you very briefly what you have to do. I'll get my right mouse, that is. So I'll close that down. I'll log out of this. I think this is kind of like the equivalent of Windows called LXDE. But anyway, it looks like that. Basically, that's what it boots up last thing. And you kind of this prompt at the end here. If you're used to command prompt in Windows, it's quite familiar. Completely new to me, I'm afraid. But I'll click on Start X, and that kind of launches this LXD Windows thing. Really dirty monitor, I'm afraid. And there it's booting up. And so then okay, that's great. I've got in there, and then I wanted to play some mp3s, so just to test out and just check that the audio was working, basically, because I just wasn't sure about it. Because I've played a few of these games that were on here, Python games, but none of them had seemed to sort of play. Well, they did play, but they didn't play with sound. So it gives you a list here. It takes a little bit slow to load up. It's not a really fast computer, but it's just nice, I suppose, having something that's a bit different from what you're used to. So this is a game, for example, that comes preloaded on it. When you sort of move around, and you've got to catch the smaller ones, but it doesn't seem to play any. There, I got one. Didn't play any sound, so I wasn't sure about that. Anyway, I'll just close that down for the minute. Shall I do it? Close, that'll do the job. And as you can see, as you're using it, you've got this little monitor thing on the right hand side that tells you how much processing power it's using at the time. And that's closed down. So the next thing was getting the mp3s on it. So I thought, well, how do I get the files on it first of all? So I turned it all off. Basically, you have to turn it off is another thing, but you basically log out using that power button on the bottom right. And when you get to the command prompt, I think you'd have to type the word sudo. That's sudo space halt, H-A-L-T, and then it kind of gets the computer to a safe point which you can just pull the power socket. So I'd done that, then I took the SD card back out of it, I chucked it back into the front of my computer, and I loaded the mp3s on the, because it kind of loaded up in Windows Explorer, and I kind of copied the mp3s across. Then I put the card back in the Pi, turned it on, and here, and then I thought, okay, well, how do I find the mp3? So I'll show you. Here's the kind of the Explorer in it. It's kind of a little button down here, File Manager, and here it is. So this is what your card looks like when you put it in. You have to hunt round for it, but it's okay. There it is. And oh, is it there? Oh no, there it is. There was the mp3s. If I double click on them, kind of opens up this choose an application window, a bit like you get in Windows if you haven't got a proper program installed. I'll click cancel, so that wasn't great, so I thought, well, how am I going to pay them? So after a bit of kind of working things out, I managed to, what was I going to do next? Well, I thought, well, can I install VLC, Video LAN Client, you know, the program I use on Windows and Mac to play the files? Well, I did try, but I found it a bit difficult. But then people in the end said on the forums I was looking at, why with VLC when this Raspbian's got something called OMXplayer that's apparently quite good at HD. And you have to, trouble is you have to run that from the command prompt in here, which I'll show you to do in a minute. But after lots of hunting around, I've did a few things that firstly I went to, let me see, I've got this root password. I don't know if you have to do this or not. But some things I was typing in and it kept coming with an error, so I think you might want to do this first of all. So basically to install and do certain things you need a root password, and if you haven't set one up then it's worth following these instructions on this web page. So you have to actually create your password, so you can type sudo space su and then press return and then type password wd, and then it'll tell you to assign a root password. So I did that, and then I kind of logged into root user after that. So I'd done that. I don't know if that was completely necessary or not, and then I found the web page for OMXplayer. There's a link on that Raspbian web page, I think, one of there anyway. But it's basically, if you do a search for OMXplayer in Google, it'll come up with this website, and this bloke's done a very useful page. Which looks a bit daunting, but it's got the instruction at the top about the build, the latest build that he's done, and to install it you have to go to, because I just typed, someone had said, oh, just type OMXplayer in the command prompt in the Pi, but it didn't work, so you have to install it. So to do that, first you'll need to, this kind of library I suppose it is, so I just did this line at the bottom, apt-get. So to do that you type that into the Pi. Get the right mouse, it's a bit confusing here, and here's the LX terminal on the desktop. If you double click on that, it loads up this thing here, and again this is the command prompt, and it's kind of so into there you can type away, you know, apt-get whatever you want to type, and you should see it working. Just make sure you type everything completely correctly, as this guy says on this website here. So you need to type this line in, right. And then when you've done that, it'll finish, and then when you've installed that library, you kind of type this stuff in, wget, and that website address. You see where the X's are, you need to replace them with the name of the, let me just zoom out a bit, you have to replace them with kind of the name of the build. So I went for the latest build at the top there. So you just kind of replace them with those numbers, OMXplayer _02, and then that code there, the file name basically. And then when you've done that, press return, that top line, and then it'll work on that, and then after it's finished, You type, I guess, so the top one I guess downloads it from the website, and the second one depackages it. I can only guess that's what that means, kind of the zip file to somewhere within its operating system. Once it's done that, you can then go within the same terminal window. I've just written there. If you type OMXplayer, I hope this works, or it'll be a bit embarrassing. It kind of comes up with kind of, you don't really get anywhere, you get kind of a list of commands that you can type, and you'll see some of them are like play, and that's its usage. So you have to put OMXplayer, and then you can put an option, one of these if you want, and then file. But I'm going to type in OMXplayer. And one last thing that I did was I thought, well, where is the file? How can I tell it to go to that SD card that I just kind of showed you here in here? So I didn't really want to. So what I did is just grabbed the MP3 and I dragged it up here. I think that when you go to this prompt, kind of it's already within this directory. So I just copied it into there. And to make life easier for me, I just renamed it tribe1, so .mp3, so got rid of the spaces in it. And then hopefully this will work, no guarantee. It was a bit of an embarrassing video if not. OMXplayer, and I'll just put a space, so I won't bother with any of the options. I'll just type the file name tribe1.mp3, and fingers crossed. Yeah, I just plugged in a couple of things there. Just playing that file. So that's really, on the back of that website there's got a few instructions on how to increase volume, I guess plus. That's increasing the volume. It's the shift and plus key. Distorting it. Like grown-ups, don't even try to hide 'cause the spot blown up. Girlfriend telling you she wanna see. I say I don't know, but you say gladly. And then when it's finished, the track says have a nice day. So I guess the next part is to try out a HD movie in it. So I don't know how that'll work, but that's anyone who really wants. It's a lot easier to play an MP3 in Windows and Mac, but I guess it's a bit more fun. It reminds me a bit of the days when you used to have one of these. So I've got one of these old ones lying around. I wondered if I could fit it in that actually, but that doesn't work this one anymore. But it does remind me of trying to learn that stuff a couple of years ago. But anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching.